Assalamu alaikum. A very good day. Greetings. Greetings for the coming days to be brighter, happier, and when we can meet. Let me tell you that I enjoy teaching in my classroom with my students because the online teaching is too impersonal that I cannot really teach the way that I would like to or I usually do. I wish you all the best, and I am sure this will get over and we will have better, happier, brighter days. The subject that I am going to discuss with you today is the 5 ethnic groups for one nation. It's a long reading in your reading package, and it's very heavy. Heavy because of its length and because of its content. So I thought that I will try to give you the basic information in 2 lectures. So now I begin the first lecture of the 2. Post 1971, Pakistan was likely to be more federal. When East Pakistan got abolished, the 4 provinces came into being: Punjab, Sindh, the NWFP, then now Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Balochistan, that was created its own identity as a province in 1970. The Constitution of Pakistan in 1973 was more favorable to federalist system than its earlier constitutions. And it also granted small provinces the same number of seats as Punjab in the Senate. Although the Senate had almost no say in financial matters, the reform was intended to offset the influence of Punjab, which had become the majority province. While Sindhis rallied against the Pakistan project, the Pakistan project is that primarily they associate their identity with the country, and then on a secondary level they can associate with their own areas, race, ethnicity, region, as the case may be. The question of Sindhis coming to Pakistan's project, as Christophe Jefferlaw says, was because of that they got a Sindhi prime minister then, and it brought them some real good confidence. Sindhi nationalism traditionally relied on 3 pillars: language and literature. A historical territorial element was also there, which they always identified with the golden age, that was the Indus civilization, and they are very much justified in that. This last dimension needs to be elaborated upon because during Raj, British period, Sindhi nationalists held up symbols of their province condition, the exploitation of the local peasant. And let me assure you that the local peasant in any province is still exploited. The superiority complex of Muhajirs sparked Sindhi protest when it translated into adverse policies, because Muhajirs were thought that they were more educated, more civilized, and they were better cultivated in life. For Sindhis, it was very difficult to accept a lower position in their own home province. So in 1950s, the formula of the one unit scheme provoked strong reaction in the province, and G.M. Syed moved closer to Pashtun and Bengali nationalists to form a common front. We were very lucky that Bhutto could deal with it and solve the situation that G.M. Syed has initiated. And in the late 1960s, after leaving Ayub Khan's government in 1967, Bhutto fought against the former dictator in the name of socialism. And this ideology held some appeal for Sindhi nationalists who had always defended the Boer, at least in their speeches. They may be rhetoric. And the anti-Muhajir feeling started, and it was becoming difficult with the passage of time. And this was not only because of language, or was the only focus of the Sindhis, but the second issue was the issue of quotas in government jobs and educational institutions was another. In September 1948, Liaqat Ali Khan's government had introduced a quota system regulating access to the civil service in order to promote parity between the eastern and western wings. But these new quotas introduced by Bhutto did not radically alter the balance of power within the administration, but the trend at least moved in the right direction for the Sindhis. The last of Bhutto's noteworthy measures was nationalization of industries and business conducted in the framework of a left-wing policy that will change for some years. Karachi business community was dominated by Muhajirs, although the Sindhis did not necessarily reap the benefit of it. But if you come to think of it historically, and if we move from Sindh to Baloch self-determination movement, as I said earlier that it came into existence in 1970 when the 1 unit was abolished, Baloch nationalism is much older. Its staunchest ideologies claim that it harks back to the 12th century, at least to the creation. With this kind of a historical pride, though it is a home to only 3% of Pakistan's population and nearly 1/4 of them live in Quetta, Balochistan makes up 42% of the country's surface area and moreover occupies a strategic area on the border with Iran and Afghanistan. What really made this so-called Baloch nationalism? Baloch nationalism crystallized under the aegis of principally the rulers were responsible for it who opposed the Pakistan project. This ideology was based in a language, then in an ethnic identity, nurtured or invented traditions. This always happens that when we wish to adhere to one idea and we become so confident of it that we are not ready to alter it or to even have a dialogue for it. Several Baloch tribes shared common grievances against the government in the 1950s, ranging from Baloch underrepresentation in the local bureaucracy, which the People's Party had previously underlined, to the imposition of the 1 unit scheme. Once again, they found, more to their distress, that the attitude of the center, instead of diffusing an ethnic mobility, radicalized it. Z. Bhutto dismissed Balochistan government in February 1973 on the grounds of its separatist activities, and in retaliation, then the NWFP government, now Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, also resigned. So we can see that from Bhutto to when we go to Zia, he wielded carrot and stick trick in dealing with the Baloch nationalist. He promised economic development measures for the province. He managed to appease a segment of Baloch nationalists by releasing several thousand prisoners and granting amnesty to those who has fled to Afghanistan or Iran. And the Baloch nationalism in the 1980s was not toned down merely due to the departure of extremists and the collaboration of certain notables. It also resulted from the fact that the movement could hardly rely on support from the middle class intelligentsia. both of which were fairly small in a province where the literacy rate is the lowest in the country. So this happened that the people from Punjab and from Sindh got settled in Balochistan, and the diaspora maintained strong ties with their own home provinces. And the same case was repeated when they went to work in Gulf, that they wanted to have strong ties with their homeland and proved to be a useful resource in the nationalist revival of 2000s. If we come to understand that how this was going on, we have to see this cyclical events of Balochistan, and they show that the national integration issue in Pakistan has yet to be settled, and it illustrates well-known facts of the Pakistani syndrome, especially the centralizing reflex of a ruling elite, and they are keen to concentrate power, be it civilian or military. This approach has resulted basically in the radicalization of the Baloch nationalists, who have finally opted for an equally violent form of separatism. And the same scenario unfolded in NWFP then, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa now, and of the Pashtuns. Abdul Ghaffar Khan wisely got NWFP then, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa now, with Pakistan, but the idea of an regional identity was always there. So they never got satisfied, and paradoxically, comparing with Balochistan nationalism, Pashtun nationalism found new areas into which to expand hundreds of miles from northwestern frontier province, then Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, now in Karachi, to which many citizens of this province had migrated in search of work starting in the 1960s. These Pashtun pockets enabled the Awami National Party to win a modest but unprecedented electoral success in the 2008 elections, securing 2 seats out of 130 in the Sindh Assembly. And there, the other contenders, the Muhajirs Party, the MQM, accustomed to a monopoly position in Karachi. And this monopoly position was basically compromised because of the Pashtun influence and because of the business that they had in their hands. The growing presence of Pashtuns in Karachi is a major factor of militant Muhajir mobilization of Sindh. I say Khuda Hafiz now, and I will continue in the lecture 2.